So shall we start now? Okay. So page 4 ended very beautifully with the earth nature receiving the descent of light as if it was a blessing. All grew a consecration and a rite. It was part of some kind of a spiritual experience for the whole earth or nature. So the air sang a hymn, the mountains were like altars opening to the light, the trees were praying in the sky that is becoming more and more beautifully luminous. But it is in the world of man that this receptivity is not so complete. Man is attached as much to darkness as to light. The simplicity and openness that is there in nature is not there in man. Therefore, it's a different, you might say, beginning every day. There's also this unwillingness also to start a new day and open again and again to the world of light. This is the problem that makes our progress so slow. That's why he starts on page 5, he uses the word ambiguous. Ambiguous is something that has two sides. Life on earth for all of us is an opportunity to grow, an opportunity to advance, to open to the divine, to the light, to the new life, to new possibilities, to new hopes. There is at the same time an unwillingness to constantly progress. Therefore, there is a return to the darkness and a pleasure that is taken in the darkness as well. So he says, here where our half-lit ignorance skirts the gulfs, on the dumb bosom of the ambiguous earth, here where one knows not even the step in front, and truth has her throne on the shadowy back of doubt, on this anguished and precarious field of toil, outspread beneath some large indifferent gaze, impartial witness of our joy and bale, our prostrate soil bore the awakening ray. So that's the main clause. Our soil that is lying in the dark bears, and that the word bear is often used to accept something not very happily. So we do not respond to light. If we look at ourselves, we see why we do not change so easily. Something within us does not want to change. There is an attachment to darkness. Nature is very simple, man is not. And so our world is caught between light and darkness. Half-lit ignorance skirts the gulfs. Skirt is to walk on the edge, so that you can suddenly sink into the absolute inconscience. We can rise, of course. We can move upwards. We can also move not only unknowingly, but unfortunately, consciously downwards. On the dumb bosom of the ambiguous earth. Earth doesn't warn us, it's just a field of experience. Whatever direction we choose, whether we are going to climb upwards or going to move downwards, Earth offers us those possibilities, both possibilities. It all depends on us. So that is the difference. Man becomes responsible for his own growth, progress, evolution. That's the first big difference between man and the beings that preceded man. For them, nature does the work. For man is given the freedom of choice. Is he going to climb upwards? The possibility is given. Is he going to slide downwards? That possibility is always there also. And that is what Mother had said so often. The mountain path leads in two directions. All depends on what you put behind you. If you want to move towards the light, you climb towards the sun. If you choose to move into the darkness, you put the sun behind you. This is an ascending scale. It is not a flat world, it is an ascending scale. And ascension and descent come hand in hand. Therefore, where one knows not even the step in front, and yet we are so, you might say, conceited, proud of being superior beings. It is an irony that we are superior to other creatures. We don't even know what the next hour is going to be like. We don't know anything for certain. There is no certitude because the connection with that which within us knows, there is a presence within us that knows, that is the truth. That connection is not always maintained. There is a small talk by the Mother about the connection between ourselves and the psychic being. It is the lamp and the generator. She gives that image. But if you cut off that connection, you don't know where you're going. You think you know because your mind has a terrible pride, and so it often says, I don't need to be told what to do. I am intelligent, I am a very advanced mental human being, and I know what I am doing. And then I land suddenly in the dirt. So, today's truth is often questioned tomorrow. Yesterday's knowledge is replaced by today's knowledge, which will again be replaced by tomorrow. Why? Where is the final absolute truth? We have to go back to the absolute, the supreme. Otherwise, we're always moving and not sure in what direction we are moving. Therefore, life on earth is unsure, precarious. On this anguished and precarious field of toil. It's a very, I don't know if Sri Aurobindo intended it, but I feel it is as if the earth is also anguished. In the sentence, it is as if earth is waiting for some being and man to deliver her out of darkness. And man fails. Earth remains anguished, in pain, in suffering. Not only man suffers, earth suffers. She is a being. She is asking to be delivered from darkness. We don't know how to because we don't know where is the light and where is the solution. The help has to come from within. From above, the sense of nobody helping you. Like the sky is stretched out above us, the sky doesn't tell you anything. No messages come down. It's there. There is often this relationship between man and the higher world. You get no answers because perhaps you don't know how to listen. Perhaps you don't know how to open. It seems as if nobody seems to help you. And so our human life is stretched out under a large, indifferent sky. large, indifferent gaze. Impartial witness. The sky is the mind, it's symbolic of the mind, a certain principle of knowledge. Impartial witness of our joy and bale. Bale is woe, sorrow. Sees human beings suffering, human beings are happy, human beings, those who are happy today may not be happy tomorrow. It is like some kind of a merry-go-round, not always merry also. And there's so much change. It watches. There is this relationship sometimes between man and the gods. The gods watch. They don't always stretch out their hands to help. So that aspect is there because there are these powers. They are not meant to help. There are certain powers, divine powers that are there that when they are called, they lean down and help. There are other powers that do not. Their role is to maintain the plan, the universal plan, to stay exactly in the place allotted to them. It's like if there is in our house, if there is a ceiling and I want to touch the ceiling and I can't, the ceiling will not come down to my side level. I have to rise. In the same way, there are gods who do not come down. They stay in their stations. They're completely impartial. They do not answer to our prayers always. That's the reason why man has to continuously climb, because they stay absolutely impartial. Such a world, our prostrate soil. Prostrate is lying flat. Prostrate is also associated with the notion of self-giving. The earth has given herself to this world of change. Complete pranam, absolute self-surrender. And it is lying head down in the dark. It bears the burden of light. It bore the awakening ray so that we can shake off the burden of darkness. So temporarily, sometimes we do. Then again, we forget. This is the whole problem. So here too, in the world of nature, the new ray, the new dawn, the new promise had made the birds sing and the flowers bloom, and there was a kind of an explosion of beauty and love and joy. Here also, in man's world, the vision and the prophetic gleam, so the picture is not so bad. The light is, the small little ray is a promise of a greater light. Dawn is the promise of a greater sunrise. So it's like someone who comes as a herald, lit into miracles, common, meaningless shapes. Not just shapes in matter. When the new light touches maybe a leaf, a stone, it starts to glisten, it starts to shine, where a few hours ago they seemed dull. The new light touches a mind, touches a heart which is plunged in ego and smallness, and something maybe within us opens up, and there is a spark, there is some kind of a new birth possible. It is miraculous that out of darkness there is a sudden opening to light. Or is it really miraculous? It's because of the darkness that a moment comes when within the being there is a sense of absolute urgency that I cannot stay in this condition forever. I am plunged in the darkness. I have to come out of this. There is a moment. These are like turning points. So, one of the purposes of suffering is that. It's something that is really pushes us down. It hurts so much that in the being a need is felt that I have to find a solution. I can't go on like this. Something has to be done within my nature and around me, in the world around me. And that is why perhaps there is a very strong justification for pain. But the call to the light is very uneven and not constant, not for long. It comes, it brings a new promise, lit into miracles, common meaningless shapes. Then the divine afflatus, spent, withdrew. What came flowing down from above, the grace, the promise, the light, the love, gave itself to the earth. Man and earth received whatever it could, did not accept always, or did not retain, and we don't always retain or even remember how much grace is given to us. It seems to withdraw. It doesn't really withdraw, but we have turned our backs to it. Unwanted, that is the very unhappy word. It goes back because it's not wanted. And so often Mother has said to us, when you ask her, how can this be done? How can that change be brought about? And her first answer will be, you have to want. You have to want it. If that want is there, then it is a start. But we take the world and life and even the grace for granted. It's there. Everything is given to us. We forget. We don't bother to concentrate on her or on all the help that is coming, until there is a moment when the pressure of pain is so much that you call very strongly. So unwanted, fading from the mortal's range. But it never goes back truly. A sacred yearning lingered in its trace. That's why, in spite of every failure and every fall, there is always a new beginning. Every fall is the starting point of a new climbing, a new progress, a new beginning, because something remains. We are, whether we know it or not, expressions of the divine, sustained by her grace, sustained by the love. We forget her, she doesn't. The earth doesn't actually. Man does. But since evolution, when man has appeared, evolution was given to man and he was asked to make a choice that now you evolve. You lead the consciousness forward. Man does not bear the burden always. He evolves and then he doesn't. He moves on the same level. He improves his present state. He makes it a little more, you might say, comfortable, sophisticated, but the level is the same. You have a more complex mind, a more refined thought, but it's the mind, it's nothing more. And we think that is advancing. It is not. It's moving on the same level. Here, in the world of consciousness, it has to be an ascension. Sri Aurobindo has repeatedly told this. There's a climbing that has to take place. So, the need to climb, the yearning to change comes because the failure is there, and each failure makes us want that we have to come out of this. A sacred yearning lingered in its trace. Though the divine ray seemed to have withdrawn, something remained, the worship of a presence and a power too perfect to be held by death-bound hearts. If we look at ourselves, we feel how What a pity that so much is given and so little is retained and accepted because we choose to remain little. We don't like to break our limits. We want the divine to come down into our world. We don't want to expand ourselves to become capable of holding that presence. So some little trace of the grace, of the light, of the truth touches us, and we seem content with that. But death-bound hearts, the heart that loves knows it is not going to love forever, it's not going to live forever. We accept life knowing that it has a limit. We don't remember that we are born from the infinite and that we are not here meant to go away. We have become children of mortality, children of death. And so everything has its boundaries, has its limits. Anything too great, anything too vast, anything too mighty, any thought, any feeling, any action, any consciousness, after a while becomes intolerable for us. We can't take it. Lesser joys, lesser truths are much more within our range. This is something that Savitri is all about. We have to break that boundary. We have to come out of that smallness. A sacred yearning lingered in its trace, the worship of a presence and a power too perfect to be held by death-bound hearts, the prescience of a marvelous birth to come. The ambassadress dawn, the herald of a new light, has come to announce the coming of a greater manifestation, of a greater light. Man will have to break out of his lesser little mind into a greater world of truth and consciousness. But if we do not prepare our instrument, our earth and our minds and our bodies, it seems to withdraw. This is the other side. There is a certain sorrow. It is as if there is a divine sacrifice. He comes. We don't accept, we don't understand, we don't feel how much is given to us. Only a little the God light can stay. That's why the dawn is a very short-lived moment. It's a spiritual dawning. The whole change that is being described in the outer world of the sky and the light is simultaneously an inner journey, an inner dawning, an inner opening. It's a change of consciousness. And this change is almost sometimes too much. We can't take it. We fall back into our very ordinary state of mind and being. But the gift is there. Spiritual beauty, illumining human sight, lines with its passion and mystery, matter's mask, and squanders eternity on a beat of time. The divine, the eternal, squanders. It's as if he wastes himself in these little moments. There are little moments. Dawn is a little moment. But that little moment is a promise of infinity and eternity. If you can catch hold of that, to catch the moment on the wing, and to recognize that this is a promise for a new possibility. You don't see the change only in the outer world. If your eyes can have a spiritual vision, because matter and spirit are not opposite. Every form in matter, every moment in our outer experience is an expression of consciousness or absence of consciousness because we resist. The body is not just a body. The body is maintained, sustained by something other than the body. It's the spirit. The two are linked, they are one. But we only prefer to see the outside of things. But if we have the vision, we see the lining of the spirit that is sustaining the outer form. It's like that which really upholds, sustains, like protects the outer fabric, the lining. It is that which protects the outer fabric. The outer fabric is matter. Matter by itself cannot exist by itself. Matter is an expression of the spirit. Otherwise, matter would be a mask. A mask is not a face. The truth is behind. So we have to see what is behind the appearance. We see only appearances and take them for reality. If even for an instant I see what is behind the outer appearance, then I become a seer, a visionary. This is one reason why the ancient word kavi in Sanskrit. Kavi did not mean poet. Kavi meant seer, one who sees. That is the person who knows. He sees not what is there on the outside of things. He sees what is behind the appearance, what is upholding the whole external manifestation. From time to time, there are beings like that, or even in the ordinary being, from time to time, there are moments like that. Suddenly, there can be a flash, an intuition. So, this is where there is a very close connection between matter and spirit. So now in the next longish sentence, he describes the descent of the spirit in matter. It is, by itself, matter would be inert. That is the law of the material world. It is inertia, basic law. It is not inert. It is sustained by a power. Matter therefore is energy. Matter is force. Matter is consciousness. As when a soul draws near the sill of birth, adjoining mortal time to timelessness, the soul is timeless, eternal. It comes into the form, takes a body, takes a birth, and that has the framework of mortality. So there is a moment where the mortal and the eternal meet. The soul enters the body. That is when a new birth takes place. Body by itself cannot exist. A consciousness is born in the body. As when a soul draws near the sill of birth, adjoining mortal time to timelessness, a spark of deity, that is the soul, a spark of deity lost in matter's crypt. The soul plunges into the world of matter, into the body. So deep does it go, it seems to be lost. But it is not lost. It has entered the fundamental or foundation of the being. The crypt is like an underground vault where one can keep treasures. So, beneath the world of matter, there is the involved presence of the divine. There is the image of the Lord that is asleep in the world of, who is asleep in the world of inconscience, sustaining the whole world from below. In each individual, this same Lord comes. The Supreme, who is transcendent, is also the individual. The individual enters into the world of matter. Matter outwardly is plunged in unconsciousness. The Supreme Consciousness seems to be lost in this house of matter. So that when one sees the human being, its luster vanishes. In the inconscient planes, the spark of the soul is not visible. This is an analogy, an image. In the same way, he's describing dawn. Dawn has just come to wake up matter and shake the human mental beings out of their dullness, and then it plunged into the earth. A moment comes when earth will have to respond, sometimes sooner, sometimes later. As when a soul draws near the sill of birth, sill, he is giving you the image of entering a house through like a window or a door. You have a window sill. It comes in from a vaster world of sky, enters into a small room with a small window, adjoining mortal time to timelessness, a spark of deity lost in matter's script. Its luster vanishes in the inconscient planes. That transitory glow, that is to say, you can in your mind read in the same way, that transitory glow of magic fire, so now dissolved in bright accustomed air. That marvelous moment of promise is replaced by the commonplace light of the mind, the commonplace light of everyday life. Dawn becomes day. Day is something where that magical promise is not there. It's something that is outstretched for all in the same way. So, because throughout the poem, he will often use imagery taken from the play of night, twilight, dawn, day, night again, everlasting day. So it's like the changing play of the earth turning to darkness, turning away from the light, turning again towards the light. And at some point, when we take that light as normal, we take it for granted. Dawn is something wonderful. Like you can even, early morning, at 6 o'clock in the morning, the sky is marvelous. At 7:30, 8 o'clock, it's not. It's flat. It's just flat daylight. So you don't think of that marvelous possibility of change. It is there, but we fail to recognize it because we don't receive the light from within. That transitory glow of magic fire, so now dissolved in bright accustomed air. The message ceased and waned the messenger. Dawn is the messenger, bringing the promise of a new birth, a new day, a new opening. She comes to give the message. We have been given so many messages in our life here. No, you can't count the number of messages. Every word of Sri Aurobindo and Mother is a message. And we sometimes note them, we read them, and then we carry on with our daily normal consciousness without really changing ourselves fundamentally. It's typical. It's difficult to hold on, difficult to stay open, difficult to constantly, vibrate with those words. So we fall back into our normal state. I think my mother spoke once about this, and she calls it a normal state, or actually she said, what is normal? Only the divine is normal. He keeps his norm. We don't, we sink. We are not, we are always below the norm. Only he can maintain the norm. We cannot bear it. We fall back into a dullness. Something that is given to us too often, too regularly becomes commonplace. The light comes every day, it has become a habitual, customary. One of the things that is very, very difficult to remember that every minute is a new blessing. It's a new promise. If it is given too often, then we take it for granted and we forget to respond to it. So that's why perhaps the messenger withdrew. The single call, the uncompanioned power, drew back into some far-off secret world where she had come from. She came from the infinite, she withdrew and left us to our mortality, the hue and marble of the supernal being. She drew back the hue and marble. She took back the wonderful colors, the wonderful messages of light and beauty that dawn always brings. So those lights and colors disappear from the sky. She looked no more on our mortality. Why? The excess of beauty natural to God-kind could not uphold its claim on time-born eyes. Man cannot bear anything excessively great, excessively noble, excessively beautiful, excessively high. Not for too long. That is the thing. That is the difference between the world of the gods, who never fail to remain open to the world of beauty. Beauty is the divine manifestation in form. That's the definition Mother has given to beauty. In the physical world, in the world of form, the expression of the divine is what is beauty. Excess of beauty, we call it, because our beings are so small, we can't bear the pressure of so much beauty. We prefer mediocrity, something that is within the range of our smallness. So that excess of beauty which is natural to the world of the gods, like mankind, so he says God-kind, could not uphold its claim on time-born eyes. Too mystic real for space tenancy. That excess of beauty has come from another world of reality, a divine world. Mystic here, that which relates the human to the divine. It has another reality. Space tenancy, space is the field of our ordinary manifestation. We live in time and space. We live in the world where our space is the field of our normal extension, of moving forward or backwards, changing places. It's an objectivity it's an objective field that opens out in front of us. We're not always looking upwards to look for something beyond our space. It's too high for us, so we can't stake it for long. Therefore, that goddess comes. That goddess is after a while pushed away. Her body of glory was expunged from heaven, where rarity and wonder lived no more for man. So dawn goes away. Dawn comes, dawn goes away. There was the common light of earthly day. This is a fact, but there is a certain sense of sorrow, unhappiness. Not sorrow really from the divine's point of view, but from the earth's point of view. We are given and we do not want to change. We push away the light all the time. So he is here with this line, he finishes the description of the coming of the new dawn. The last few lines of the section describe the response to the new day that is felt by the world of man and other creatures as well. Affranchised from the respite of fatigue, once more the rumour of the speed of life pursued the cycles of a blinded quest. Affranchised is delivered, liberated from slavery. So we say respite. Respite is a rest. Respite of fatigue is sleep. You're tired, you go to sleep. A moment comes when you can't sleep anymore. Sleep then becomes a burden. You are freed from the burden of sleep. And life starts again. This is the cycle of existence. We live and die, the earth turns towards the sun again, a new day of activity and movement and energy begins again. It is a cycle. Why does this cycle keep on returning again and again? You live, you wake up in the morning, you fill your day with activity, thoughts, movements, actions, and then in the evening, at night, all this is over and you start again. It has no direction. Rumor is loud noise. Rumor is not just what other people speak. Rumor is a very loud, indistinct noise. You hear some kind of sounds from the distance. Life is full of noise. Life is full of calls. We are not very clear about why, where these voices are coming from. Desires, impulsions, movements, energies, all these are all the time now filling our atmosphere. So life on earth starts again, but doesn't know exactly where it is going. We live and we don't know why. We die and we don't know why. We start and we end. It's a blind quest. It's almost an oxymoron, opposite terms. If you have a quest, you have a goal. If you are blind, you can't see the goal. We are moving blindly towards a goal we don't know. We only know we have to move. There is energy. So it always happens that every morning, at some point, sooner or later, all sprang to their unvarying daily acts. That's after all the magical description of the dawn in the previous pages. Here you have the commonplace life of man or other creatures, animals and birds. The 1,000 peoples of the soil and tree. When peoples are with a plural, it means races. All different birds, insects, animals, men, they're all on the same category. The soil and tree obeyed the unforeseeing instant's urge. The instant's urge is to move, to live. What was really known as, by Bergson, described as élan vital, just a push. We have to live, we don't know why. It doesn't realize why must we move, why must we live, why must we act. Consciousness is not there, or very little there. But the urge, the push, life is drive. The very nature of life is drive, push. So it is there, but it's unforeseeing. There is no knowledge of what will be the consequence of my action. I act, but what will be the next stage? I can't see. So there is a push and there is an absence of knowledge, which is sometimes a big problem. If I'm moving in one direction, I have to know where I'm moving. I'm moving because there is a life force. I don't know where I'm going because I'm blind, inwardly blind. All creatures live like that. Every worm wants to live. She doesn't know why. Every animal has to live. Survival is the deepest and first instinct. Why? They don't know the answer. Man also doesn't know the answer. But man sometimes questions. The animal or the worm does not question. They just live. There is in man a mind. And so, man, though in many ways more complex and more weak than other creatures, often suffers because he doesn't know. It disturbs him. And leader here, with his uncertain mind, alone who stares at the future's covered face, man lifted up the burden of his fate. The fate of being this limited, semi-ignorant man who does not like perhaps at some point to remain ignorant, but who does not know how to break out of his ignorance. This is the burden. I want to know and I don't know how. I want to live, but I don't know how. Live forever, I don't know how. So I have very strongly the sense of my limitations. The more conscious you become, the more conscious you become of your limitations, your incapacities, your difficulties. The less conscious you are, you accept them as they are. So the bird lives for as long as he is happy. Man also can live happily. The day he starts asking why, where, how to change, he finds all difficulties coming on his path and he doesn't know how to change. This is his fate. He can't be like this forever. He has to change. And that is the purpose of the poem. Otherwise, we have to live with the burden of ignorance. When you know you are ignorant, it becomes very difficult. If you are ignorant and you don't even know you are ignorant, it's not a problem. I'm weak and I know I'm weak and I don't know how to change. Then I need help. And that is when we realize that the help is there, it always comes. So, up to here, there is no reference to Savitri. Savitri is living among other human beings. He introduces the main character in the next section. She was with them, she was among them, she was unlike them. That's always the nature of the central character in an epic. He is not like the others. If you read a modern story or a modern play or a modern film, you will feel that these are people who resemble me. They have my weaknesses and my problems, so you can relate to them. In the old ancient times, you read stories about kings and heroes and sages and beings who were not like us. They were things above us, so that perhaps the ancient sages told us to look upwards, try to become like them. Don't have to repeat the same old version of humanity as it is. Look upwards towards a new kind of being. Savitri is one such. She is wearing a human body. She has come down on earth among men. She lives surrounded by others. Not too many, she is living in the forest, but in a hermitage. She shares their daily life and is quite different. So now we'll begin the description a little bit of Savitri. So we stop there today.